Whoa, this story is crazy.
Oh.
It's sending shockwaves through the music industry.
Really?
Yeah. A woman has come forward accusing Jay-Z, Andy, Sean, Diddy Combs of raping her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and get this. This allegedly happened way back in 2000 when she was only 13. 13 years old. At an after-party for the MTV Video Music Awards.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So before we dive into all the messy details, if you're into this kind of legal drama, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the future episodes.
Yeah, definitely hit that subscribe button.
Okay. So for this one, we're looking at a couple of sources. We've got excerpts from a Crime Fix podcast episode with an entertainment lawyer. And we've also got an NBC News report covering this whole developing story.
Gotcha.
Okay, so let's try to paint a picture of what this woman is alleging happened. Right. She's identified as Jane Doe in the lawsuit.
Right.
So she said she couldn't get into the VMAs. But while she was outside, Diddy's limo driver approached her.
Okay.
And this is where things start to get a little icky. The lawsuit says the driver told her that Diddy liked younger girls. Yeah, implying that Jane Doe, fit what he was looking for.
Right.
So then he invites her to an after party.
Oh, boy.
At a house. And she says it wasn't even Diddy's house. So she goes to this party, and she says she had a drink there that made her feel dizzy.
Yeah.
And then she alleges that both Diddy and Jay-Z raped her in a bedroom.
What?
Yeah. And there was another female celebrity there, too. She says this other woman was just watching.
Oh, my God.
I know. And it gets even worse. The lawsuit also says that Diddy tried to force her to perform oral sex on him later.
No way.
Yeah, but she fought back, so he stopped.
Oh, my God. It's pretty shocking that these accusations are aimed at, like Jay-Z and Diddy. I mean, they're two of the most powerful people in music.
For sure.
This could really damage their careers. This isn't just a legal problem anymore.
No, it's not. And then there's this whole other element, right? The accusers did an interview with NBC News, and it almost seems like it accidentally ended up helping Jay-Z's case more than hers.
You think so?
Yeah, I do.
I think that's because some inconsistencies started popping up in her story.
Exactly.
And that kind of made people question how accurate her accusations really were.
Yeah. Like, for example, she said that her dad picked her up after the alleged assault.
Okay.
But her father completely denies it.
Really?
Yeah. He says it would have been a 5-hour drive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then there's this other thing. She claims she talked to the musician Benji Madden at the party.
Okay.
But Madden's reps confirmed that he was actually on tour in the Midwest at that time.
So she couldn't have talked to him?
Nope.
Wow.
I know, right?
It's tricky because these inconsistencies don't automatically mean her accusations are false.
Right.
But they definitely raise questions.
For sure.
And, those questions could easily influence how a jury sees the case.
Absolutely. What do you think about all this? Like, do these inconsistencies make you more skeptical or less skeptical?
That's a tough one.
I know, right? Let us know what you think down in the comments.
Yeah.
And if you're liking this conversation and finding it interesting, give us a like.
Definitely.
Keep the conversation going.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so Jay-Z's lawyer, Alex Spiro, he's definitely not letting these inconsistencies slide.
I bet not.
He actually filed a motion to dismiss the whole lawsuit.
Wow.
Yeah, arguing that the accuser is guessing about key details.
He's not messing around.
No, he's not. This guy pulls no punches.
Yeah, Spiro's going pretty hard with his legal strategy.
He is.
I think that shows just how seriously Jay-Z and his team are taking this whole thing.
Yeah.
They're trying to protect his reputation and avoid any legal trouble.
Exactly.
It's a big deal.
Meanwhile, Diddy's legal team has released a statement calling the lawsuit a shameless money grab.
That's a classic.
I know.
It's like they're trying to paint her as someone who's just out for money.
Right.
Not someone who's actually looking for justice.
It's a common tactic in these cases.
Oh, for sure.
And then there's Jay-Z himself, right?
What did he do?
He went on X,
Oh, yeah.
formerly Twitter, and he straight up called the lawsuit false.
Really?
Yeah. And he said, true justice is coming.
Whoa. So he's not just fighting this in court.
No.
He's fighting it in the public eye, too.
Exactly. He's trying to control how people see this whole thing.
That's smart.
It is. But then you've got the accuser's lawyer, Tony Busby.
Right.
And he insists that he believes his client.
Okay.
Yeah. He says that another firm looked into her claims really thoroughly before they even referred her to him.
Interesting.
And he's also saying that his client has agreed to take a polygraph test
Yeah.
to prove that she's telling the truth.
A polygraph.
Yeah.
Polygraphs are kind of a mixed bag, like they're controversial. And whether they can even be used in court depends on a lot of things.
That's true.
But it's definitely a bold move by Busby.
Yeah. It could help her seem more credible even if the results can't be used in court.
Yeah, maybe.
But he's up against Jay-Z's legal team. And let me tell you, they are not playing around.
What did they do?
They went all out.
Yeah.
They created a whole timeline with photos and everything.
Wow.
Yeah. To back up Jay-Z's alibi for that night.
Oh, man. They're not messing around.
They are not. They're trying to completely tear apart the accuser's story.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, you've got conflicting stories, inconsistencies, legal maneuvering.
Yeah.
And the media is all over this.
It's a mess.
It is. And this is just the beginning.
Buckle up.
I know.
It's important to remember the bigger picture here, right? Like, we're in the middle of the hashtag #MeToo movement.
Right.
And that's allowed so many survivors to come forward.
Yeah.
To talk about abuse and to hold people accountable.
Yeah, that's true. But do you think it's also made things more divided? Like now accusations are sometimes met with a ton of skepticism.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's a really tough balance.
It is.
We need to make sure survivors feel safe enough to come forward.
Right.
Without being judged or questioned too much.
Yeah.
But we also have to make sure that people who are accused are treated fairly.
Exactly. How do we even find that balance? Like, how do we handle these situations?
That is the question, isn't it?
Really is.
There are no easy answers. I think it takes honest conversation. Right. And education. We need to learn more about these kinds of cases.
Yeah.
And we need to commit to due process.
You keep saying due process. What does that even mean?
Oh, right. Sorry. Due process basically means that everyone deserves a fair legal process.
Okay.
It's like this rule that protects people from being treated unfairly by the government.
Gotcha. So in this case, that means Jay-Z and Diddy are innocent until proven guilty.
Exactly. And they have the right to defend themselves.
Okay.
And at the same time, the accuser has the right to present her case.
Right.
And to try to get justice.
We've talked about the accusations and the inconsistencies and how Jay-Z and Diddy are responding.
Right.
But what about the legal stuff? Like, what could actually happen to them?
Legally?
Yeah. Like, what are the consequences here?
Well, if what the accuser is saying turns out to be true, Jay-Z and Diddy could face criminal charges.
For sexual assault?
Yes.
And those are serious charges, right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. If they were convicted, they could go to prison for a long time.
Wow. And what about the accuser? Like, what happens to her if the lawsuit is thrown out or if they're found not liable?
That's a good question. It's possible that she could get in trouble for making false accusations.
Really?
Yeah, but it's really hard to prove that.
Okay.
Especially since this allegedly happened over 20 years ago.
So there's a lot riding on this for everyone.
Yeah, definitely.
And whatever happens could change how we deal with sexual assault allegations in the future.
Right. This case could really influence how people see these situations.
And how they're handled.
Absolutely.
It's kind of wild how this case just brings all the complications of the hashtag #MeToo era right to the surface.
Oh, yeah, totally. It shows how far we've come in believing survivors.
Yeah.
But it also shows how much work we still have to do.
For sure. It's like this case is a perfect example of that struggle.
Exactly. And, it makes you think about how we as a society figure out what is enough evidence in cases like this.
Right. Especially when the incident was so long ago.
Exactly. Like we're talking he said, she said, limited physical evidence.
Right.
And people trying to remember things that happened over 20 years ago.
It's tough. How much weight should we give to these inconsistencies in her story?
It's a really difficult question. And the outcome of this case could impact whether other survivors feel comfortable coming forward in the future.
You think so? Like this case could actually discourage people from reporting abuse?
It's possible. If the conversation just focuses on the inconsistencies and doesn't consider the bigger picture of the impact of trauma,
right,
then it might make some people hesitate.
But what if we talk about it in a nuanced way?
Right.
Like acknowledge how serious the accusations are, but also that due process is important.
Right. I think that could actually make the movement stronger.
Okay.
If we emphasize thorough investigations, fair legal processes, and supporting survivors. I think that could really help.
It's interesting how both sides are using the public to try to influence how people see this whole thing.
Yeah.
Jay-Z on X, his lawyer's letter, the accuser's interview with NBC.
It's like they're fighting a PR battle at the same time as a legal battle.
Exactly. They're trying to win over public opinion.
And that matters a lot in cases like this.
So what do you think? Like, if you were on the jury in this case,
Whoa,
what would you need to see to make a decision?
that's a great question.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're into this discussion as much as we are, give us a like.
Yeah, hit that like button.
This case really makes you think about some uncomfortable stuff.
It does.
Like power privilege and how hard it can be to get justice in a system that isn't perfect.
Yeah, that's a really important point.
Well, this conversation is far from over, but we want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into this complicated and sensitive story.
It was a good one.
We hope it got you thinking and that you learned something new. And if you want to hear more deep dives like this, make sure to subscribe. We'll be back with more stories that matter.